Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'm pleased to speak to the House today regarding motion M-44. It was clear from our time together in the previous sessions at the Standing Committee on Citizenship and Immigration that the member for Surrey Centre is passionate about improving Canada's immigration system, and this motion highlights that as well. Congratulations on being number one. I and my colleagues in the NDP have long viewed Canada's immigration system as an exercise in nation building. Individuals and families from all corners of the world for generations have come to Canada, contributing to our communities, our social fabric, our culture, and economy. In the past, Canada's immigration system offered lander status on arrival for a full range of workers. Unfortunately, successive Liberal and Conservatives have shifted our system over time to just what IRCC deemed as high-skilled workers. As a result, Canadian employers have struggled to find the full range of workers to meet the labor demand, and increasingly, Canada has turned to the Temporary Foreign Workers Program. On an annual basis, there are now more temporary foreign workers in the country than there are new landed immigrants. 20 years ago, there were 60,000 temporary work permits in Canada. Today, there are over 400,000. As we have witnessed, precarious status immigration streams lead to severe power imbalances, abuses, and a fear to speak out. Whether it was the rampant exploitation and stories of deportation threats for live-in caregivers that forced program reforms, to the countless stories of workplace rights violations, wage theft, and illegal housing, temporary foreign workers, for temporary foreign workers, many of these issues stem from the precarious nature of the immigrant workers community. The pandemic, Mr. Speaker, have really highlighted the fact that temporary foreign workers have been mistreated. And there are two issues that I would like to state. One is that Canadians and our economy heavily rely on access to temporary foreign workers, many of whom are essential workers, even though IRCC's definition of these workers are what they call, quote, low or medium skilled. They work at grocery stores, they put food on our table, they care for our loved ones, and so much more. Across the board, their value should be recognized with livable wages, secure employment benefits, and, as COVID has demonstrated, pay sick leave. Yet too often, these essential workers are paid minimum wages. They can only come to Canada as temporary foreign workers and not as immigrants, and that needs to change. And that's why the NDP is putting forward an amendment to the motion to expand the economic immigration stream beyond what IRCC deems as high-skilled workers to include a full range of workers, and I'll be moving that motion at the end of the speech. And two, the lack of enforcement of rules to prevent exploitation and harm to temporary foreign workers continues. The recent Auditor General's report found that the government assessed almost all employers as compliant with COVID-19 regulations, even though they had, quote, gathered little or no evidence to demonstrate this. Their continuous failure to act to enforce basic standards, rules, and principles, the program tips the scale further in favor of abuse, exploitation, exclusion, and tragically death. I don't say that lightly, Mr. Speaker. Whether through failure to follow COVID guidelines leading to COVID deaths or unsafe work practices resulting in the workplace deaths of agriculture workers each year, the mistreatment of these precarious migrants lead to tragedy each and every year. Many, myself included, have argued for a very long time that the Temporary Foreign Workers Program is a complete misnomer. While it aims to be for the filling of labor or skill shortages on a temporary basis, we all know that it isn't the case. Instead, the program is used to fill permanent jobs with temporary people. The NDP has long argued with migrant worker organizations that if you're good enough to work here, you're good enough to stay. That means lander status on arrival and the recognition that, quote, low-skilled is a term that doesn't reflect the value of work being done, but is just a term that justifies poor working conditions and low wages. eliminating the precarity of status for newcomers and removing the power imbalances created by tying a migrant worker to a specific employer would have an enormous positive impact on the lives of migrant workers overnight and in the long term, positive impact for our economy. As just one example, COVID-19 has exposed a shortage of frontline healthcare workers in this country. In my years of work advocating for better treatment, the end to forced family separation and landed status on arrival for migrants arriving through the caregiver stream, I've heard countless stories of how many of these women are trained nurses and caregivers who could not practice as a result of immigration laws. It makes no sense that they're not able to practice in their profession, even if they have passed all the tests and meet all the credentials. The only thing that's preventing them from working in their profession is the immigration rules. Credential recognition doesn't help them because they're tied to the job and the employer that got them here. There is no flexibility, and that is wrong and should be changed. I'm happy to see that the member include international students in the motion as well. The best and brightest young people from around the world come to Canada to study. For some, they want to make the skills they learn here and bring them home to improve their communities, and that is incredible. But we also must realize that for some coming to Canada, obtaining an education here and being immersed in our communities is done with the goal of making Canada their home. While pathways exist for many, the difficulty of navigating the system and the delays for application approvals become serious hindrances to their ability to stay here and work in the field. For reasons that have never been explained to me, students applying through express entry scored lower than they should because any work experience they gain in Canada while study does not count. This artificially lowers their score and makes it less likely for them to be selected, and this too should change. I would be remiss if I don't speak to the lack of options that individuals without status have to regularize and obtain valid status. People can be in this country without status for a wide range of reasons, some of which are out of their control, some of which are instances where they believe they were following the rules but were misled and exploited, some of which have lost status because of the delays in the system. The reasons are many. And for example, I'm aware of caregivers who lost status due to COVID-related delays in processing application. There are an estimated 500,000 people already here in Canada without status. Many of them, due to this precarious situation, are working under the table or are not having their rights respected and are being exploited. They are also countless cases in positions well below the fullest of their abilities because they can't come forward for positions that they qualify for without status. So, Mr. Speaker, we need to change all of that. And I'm going to move the motion to say this, that the motion be amended by adding after the words comprehensive plan to expand the following, quote, the economic immigration stream to allow workers of all skill levels to meet the full range of labor needs, and B, in paragraph F, by adding the words caregivers after the words healthcare services. I thank the member from Surrey Centre for accepting these amendments, and I look forward to the plan from the government when the motion passes. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.